Hello and good afternoon, good evening. This is your humble servant, Kema Gwe Theronka. Now, I just wanted to come by and finish up something that kind of started a wave, and a lot of people were calling me and inboxing me that I need to do a part 2. As you saw maybe a few weeks ago, I did a video on how I went to law school without money, without even being permanent resident or a citizen in the United States, and I was able to get funding and all that stuff, and it was such an incredible ride. And I just wanted to let people know that this was done by faith. I live in faith. You usually say live by faith. I live in faith. My whole life has been a life of faith, and I wanted to create a series all of my life when I came from this country all the way through, so that you can see how God has been so good to me throughout my entire life. And so I'm going to complete this as a part 2 to that video about going to school without money. And then I'm going to take you back to when I came in this country, and those will be other videos, so watch out for it. But I just wanted to say, as a recap, like I said, I went off when I was getting ready to go to law school. I worked as a counselor, as a camp counselor that summer, I remember, and I only had like $300 or $200 or something, or $300. And as I stated, we got to the Massachusetts. My brother and sister took me. I didn't have a place to stay. We went through the whole thing, where we were enjoying ourselves in Boston. Again, here's the faith thing. And see, the thing is, I did not have an inkling thought or an idea that the Lord was not going to make a way. And that's how strange this living in faith is. Somebody out there might want to hear this because they want to write that book. They want to go to the school. They want to open that ministry. They want to open that business. I didn't conceive that I wasn't going to be there. All I thought is I'm here for law school. Everything else is not up to me. So as I explained to you, the lady called me and said she had a place for 3 weeks. I took it. Then the guy who had called all the way around at different Holiday Inn looking for me and says, I have a place, but it's not going to be ready for 3 weeks. And then I get the place. I'm living now in Massachusetts. Of course, for law school, I don't have money. I'm not a citizen or a green card holder. And so we still put in the application. They still put in the application for me with the hope. And in that meantime, school has started, but I was going to classes. I wasn't supposed to go, but I bought my bags. I bought notebooks. I didn't have money to buy books, and I went to school. I put my backpack on. I walked in the class. I sat in the front of the class. I answered questions. It was about a week or 2 weeks after that when I received the information that I was actually approved for grants and loans, and I was able to stay and matriculate in law school. Because I reflected back and I told God, I said, listen, I always wanted to be a lawyer, since I can remember. And my parents told me, I told them since I was 6 or 5, that if God makes me a lawyer, I would just help his people. In my mind, I was going to be a lawyer just to help people. I wasn't thinking I was going to be a lawyer to make money. I just thought, God, just make me a lawyer so I can help people. All of my life when I was young, and I see people who are downtrodden or injustice or hungry, my parents say, I will cry and cry and cry. And so because I made that covenant with God, God made the covenant with me. I don't care if I wasn't eligible, I was going to go. That's what faith does. That's what covenant does. See, remember Hannah and Peninnah. When Hannah's womb was shut, Peninnah used to tease her a lot, right? And when she shifted her prayer, she used to pray all the time, but when she shifted her prayer into a negotiation with God. Say, Lord, if you give me a son, I will give him back. In other words, Israel's going to need a prophet one day, a prophet that words would not fall to the ground. If you give me this son, I promise you, I will give you a prophet. They made that exchange in the realms of the spirit. When she had Samuel, she took him and gave him to the priest so that the priest can raise him, because that's the negotiation she had with God. And that's what happened in my life. And I will get to that piece where I become a lawyer, and what the Lord did, so that you can hear how gracious he was when you make that covenant. But you just have to be, strong. You have to be fervent in your faith. You see, there's a difference between walking by faith, living by faith. I lived in faith all my life. My whole life is faith. Like, when people are not eligible for something, I don't think in my mind that, oh, I can't do it because I'm not eligible for it. The things that I know that I can't do, I just don't put my hand to do it. But the things that I know that I can do and I'm supposed to do, I just go like I'm going to do it. And I don't see the obstacles. I've never lived within seeing the circumstances. I lived outside of the circumstances. So this next part, this is part 2, but then part 3 is going to talk about, once I got out of law school, how I was able to make it, so that from the law school days, you get to see the transformation of what God was doing in my life, opening my law office. So stay tuned. Don't you dare miss a piece of this episode. This is part 2, and we're going to part 3 next. So stay tuned.